Bad Bunny played the Super Bowl halftime show.
Yeah.
Broke the record for the most watched. People are still watching that thing, still talking about it. And I'm not gonna lie, in our house we cried. It was such a special moment. We went back and we watched that thing frame by frame, and everything had such significant meaning. And in a time where there's people out there that say Latinos don't belong, he proved on such a big stage that we belong, that we're here to stay, and that we're resources, right? That's how we see it in my home. But as a journalist, can you share with us, what is the impact of that moment?
It was significant for a lot of reasons. And specifically, when it comes to All Latino and our show, we interviewed him. Jasmine Garst and I, she set up an interview, and we did an interview with him when his first album was released. So, Jasmine and some other people who were advising the show at that time says, you gotta watch this kid out there. I kept calling him Bunny Man, because I had no idea, right? But people had been watching him for a while. And so whenever we had him on, he was just getting started. He was still basically the same. He was still very humble, very nice, funny. But one thing he said that struck me, he says, if this doesn't work out, I'll go back bagging groceries. And he was sincere about it. Right? And then I watch his career. We report on his career and his releases and the twists and turns and all that stuff. So I've been able to track him and his trajectory concurrently as Latin music. As you got to go back to Despacito whenever the idea of crossover changed. The Latin artists weren't going over to the English or the general market. Right. It was the general market going over to the Latin. They saw the value in the Latin music market, and so that changed everything. Following that, and then his rise in reggaeton and doing all that stuff at the same time. Despacito, I always called it reggaeton light, because we've been covering reggaeton since when we started the show. So to watch that, and then watch him, and then have it culminate in that moment, especially the politics, the social conditions, all of these things, and everything happened at once. And what's interesting is that it's a social moment. Jay-Z and his company are the ones that they started producing the halftime show with Kendrick last year.
That's right.
So it was his decision, and the NFL went along with it. And it's important to note, that was a business decision. Their NFL's not there. NFL's there to make some money.
Absolutely.
If you ever try to go to a football game, you know what it's like, right?